finally, we are going to tackle banditry. For the Benue axis, the Plateau axis, they were crying. So governors were running to Buhari. So Buhari also used the occasion of the visit of traditional rulers to call on governors to improve the security situation in their states by looking inward. He was telling them, stop running to the presidency. But was Buhari kind to them? Was Buhari kind? He kept telling them, stop running to the presidency. Let's listen to Buhari.
We are going to be very hard on the criminals. The service chiefs have been changed. The ones that succeeded them have been in the system. They know what is wrong. They know the constituencies. They know the people. I said, confidence must be restored in governance within the next 6 weeks. Two governors, otherwise, when two governors stopped, because people may not go back to their farms, and Oyo State they chased away from their farms. When there was this crisis in their houses have been burnt, I say go back. Their animals have been taken out of the country, so they don't even mind dying. I joined the military. But what I said, we have to state confidence within the next each local government, in people, each locality, so that people can go back to their land, produce the traditional leader have a problem institution, but I assure you we are doing our best. Whichever police officer at whichever level hasn't proved to be good enough, and then we are getting the hardest or people given the orders from other areas, military especially, which are non-indigenous, they are part of it. Time, I want to say this committee was throughout Nigeria, and they used to report up to the state governor. And then the state governor, if there is something more serious, he's brought it to the president. I say, go and resuscitate the security apparatus. The traditional rulers leaders cannot go away from wherever they are. So they are permanently in that committee. And then cattle rearers or business people or whatever, like what caused the problem in Southwest recently, they are represented in those committees. And of course the Nigerian police will be there. So that security issues are tackled appropriately at every level. Now we have relaxed. Anything that happens, somebody will run to the presidency. When two governors of Ondo and Oyo State rushed me when there was this crisis in several of the forests, I say, go back. After leaving secondary school, I joined the military from second lieutenant to general. And I knew during those processes, in each local government and in each locality, there is a security council. The traditional leader there, institution, whichever police officer at whichever level, will be there. And then if there are herders or people from other areas which are non-indigenous, they are part of it. This committee was throughout Nigeria. And they used to report up to the state governor. And then the state governor, if there is something more serious, he's brought it to the president. I say, go and resuscitate the security apparatus. The traditional rulers leaders cannot go away from wherever they are. So they are permanently in that committee. And then cattle rearers or business people or whatever, like what caused the problem in Southwest recently, they are represented in those committees. Every level. Now we have relaxed. Anything that happens, somebody will run to the presidency.
I can see somebody saying, why do you pet jihadists with nicknames? Whether you call them terrorists, bandits, headsmen, they are all the same. In fact, I prefer bandits to terrorists, whatever you call them. Why do we spend so much time on name? Armed robbers, terrorists, kidnappers, they are all the same. So don't be deceived by the name terrorist. You think that one is stronger? They are all the same. They are terrorists in the southeast. They are also bandits. So I prefer the word bandit. I like the word bandit. I prefer bandit. So you've heard Buhari. That is Buhari's definition. Don't come to me. So where do they go to? You can join this discourse as we reflect.
Belongs to all of us. And the federal
you can call the number that is scrolling on the screen.
Fast, because time is going.
You can call that number to join the discourse
from
here.
North, west, northeast.
So under Buhari, questions were being raised
southwest, southeast,
against
south.
the shoot-on-sight order
insecurity
that he gave.
And this is being prepared by herdsmen. I want to repeat again.
Some ask the question, did the shoot-on-sight order negate existing laws requiring that those with legal arms be disarmed, arrested,
must be arrested,
prosecuted,
these are people who have
and jailed if found
they have
guilty?
taken responsibility.
Femi Falana at the time
they have
argued
killed, they maimed, they
that by
raped,
virtue of Section 35 of the
and
Firearms
do all sorts of
Act,
atrocities.
the president
And yet their
has to
leadership
make
is
a
in Abuja,
proclamation
and nobody is
with
confronted.
respect to the
And until
prohibition
these people are
of
arrested.
possession of firearms
When
and
I talk,
ammunition. Falana said that the directive came with a legal backing, that the directive will come with a legal backing when it is a signed declaration in form of an executive order. You recall that President Buhari gave a similar order during the 2019 election, asking that anyone found disrupting the election should be shot. But Falana argued that such blanket orders amount to the president calling for adult penalty against the provision of the law that persons found with such weapons should be disarmed, arrested, and prosecuted. Hard times, they say, requires hard measures. Perhaps that's what Buhari was trying to do. Remember, Buhari said at the time that those days were desperate times. So what would we say today is? You know, I've also noticed, okay, let me keep that for now. At the time, the most outspoken governor against bandits or headsmen, as the case may be, was the governor of Benue State, Samuel Otom. In a desperate period, Otom took on President Buhari for not doing enough to check the activities of Fulani headsmen who go about with AK-47. In February 2021, there was the Otom outburst. Otom outburst came before Buhari gave the shoot-on-sight order. And Otom's outburst was an expression of the existential threat that the people of Benue faced because government failed to respond appropriately to the marauding activities of killers parading around the country. So Samuel Otom screamed, "Arrest AK-47 headsman."
This country belongs to all of us. And the federal government, the presidency, must act fast because time is going. From north, west, northeast, north central, southwest, southeast, south, there is general insecurity. And this is being propelled by herdsmen. I want to repeat again, I have made it a petition to the presidency and to all security agencies before, that if they want peace, Mayet Yala must be arrested. These are people who have owned up. They have taken responsibility that they have killed, they maim, they rape, and do all sorts of atrocities. And yet their leadership is in Abuja, and nobody is confronting them. And until these people are arrested, when I talk, I was being vilified. Nothing bad that was not said against me. I am this and that. But the reality is here. It is not just happening to Benue State today. It is happening to the entire country. Why is the federal government being silent about this Fulani men? When will the federal government come out and criticize and arrest herdsmen carrying AK-47? When are they going to do that? Are we second citizens in this country? What gives Fulani man superior to any other person, to a tip man? I am not their slave. A Benue man is not a slave to any Fulani man in this country.
That is Samuel Otom there. Is somebody asking me why am I saying Otom? I learned that's how they pronounce the name in Benue. You know, here we pronounce it as Otom. Samuel Otom. But they say the Benue, the thief man, says it's Otom. And I think I'm liking the Otom sound. Onomatopoeia. So that was Otom in 2021. Has anything changed? Benue is still a killing field. Did Awolowo predict this? Yes, he did. Did Nnamdi Azikiwe write about this? Yes, he did. Have you seen the book Then Spoke the Thunder by Peter Enahoro? He documented the political crisis of Nigeria's early independent years and predicted what would happen if the right things were not done. Are we not there now? In 2026, 60 years after the Nzogu coup, we are still talking about coups in Nigeria. Defense headquarters moves to array alleged coup plotters. Military finally confirms plot to overthrow the Tinubu government. Inside the plot to breach presidential villa security, Defense headquarters awaits presidential go-ahead for military tribunal. So that is the popular headlines you will find on the front pages of the newspapers in Nigeria today. And that's the Punch capturing it in its own way. So Otom cried out. Otom wanted a new system. And then Buhari made him rejoice with the shoot-on-sight order. And Otom responds.
I want to commend Mr. President for the order that I heard he has already given that any Nigerian or non-Nigerian with AK-47 should be shot. They find you going about with AK-47. You should be dealt with. And I think that is the way to go. That is what we were expecting. And that is why I wrote to Mr. President. And that is why I was criticizing that there should be no sacred cow in this country. What is good for the goose is also good for the gander. And so everyone should be the same. That is all. Equity, fairness, and justice. Once that is done, we have no problem. So I commend Mr. President. You must be decisive, and that was why I say you should wake up before it is late. Allowing foreign Fulani herdsmen to come and destroy our country. And I prefer that I will say the truth. Even if God permits I'll die, I'm okay. But let the truth be told. The president is the father. IDPs can go back to their ancestral homes and live peacefully and go about farming so that the issue of food insecurity will not be there. That is all that some of us are saying. We have nothing against Fulani people or Mr. President. The chief man and Fulani man, even Mr. President, when we meet, we crack joke.
Remind you of why they struck in January 1966. So in Buhari's time, as non-state actors rose against herdsmen aggression, state actors like Samuel Utom joined the fight by deploying streams of expletives in defense of their ethnic leanings. They did this in expression of the raging discontent of the time. Some say terrorism, some say herdsmen jihadism, I say bandits. One of the actors at the time, critical to the discourse at that time, was Samuel Utom, the governor of Benue State. In a press conference on the 3rd of February 2021, Utom raised issues with the audacity behind the violent operations of Fulani herdsmen. Why is the federal government being silent about this Fulani herdsmen? He asked. When would the federal government come out and criticize and arrest herdsmen carrying AK-47? He asked. All right, Utom?
West, northeast, north central, southwest, southeast, south. There is general insecurity. And this is being propelled by herdsmen. I want to repeat again. I have made it a petition to the presidency and to all security agencies before that if they want peace, Mayor Tiala must be arrested. These are people who have owned up. They have taken responsibility that they have killed, they maimed, they rape, and do all sorts of atrocities. And yet their leadership is in Abuja, and nobody is confronting them. And until these people are arrested, when I talk, I was being vilified. Nothing bad that was not said against me. I am this and that. But the reality is here. It is not just happening to Benue State today. It is happening to the entire country. Why is the federal government being silent about this Fulani men? When will the federal government come out and criticize and arrest herdsmen carrying AK-47? When are they going to do that? Are we second citizens in this country? What gives Fulani man superior to any other person, to a tip man? I am not their slave. A Benue man is not a slave to any Fulani man in this country.
You know, Utom wondered why the federal government in charge of the army and police hastened to arrest non-state actors resisting Fulani aggression, but sits back watching herdsmen kill, maim, and take the land of their victims. He said, I'm not a slave. I'm not their slave. A Benue man is not a slave to any Fulani man in this country. So by that argument, Utom joined the debate on the colonial nature of the Nigerian state. In explaining the difference between the modern democratic state and its colonial version. The scholar Mahmoud Mamdani, remember there is a Mamdani that is the mayor of New York as we speak. So his daddy, Mahmoud Mamdani, is of the view that the modern state ensures equal citizenship in political society while acknowledging difference in civil society. But its colonial counterpart institutionalizes differences in both the polity and society. So by this, Nigeria is a colonial state, not a modern democratic state. That is the meaning of Otom's outburst, having run out of patience with the manner Buhari handled the explosive herdsmen crisis. You know, on Saturday I was talking about citizenship and indigenship. In Nigeria today, no matter where you are born, when it comes to politics, they tell you, go back to your parents' origin. That is where you can go and contest. That is why in Imo State, it is a Hope Uzodinma that will be governor. In Oyo State, it's a Seyi Makinde that will be governor. That means a Yoruba must be governor in a Yoruba state. That a child whose parents are from Sokoto State, but born in Delta, grew up in Delta, school in Delta, cannot be the governor of Delta State. If that child has political ambition, he will have to go back to Sokoto where he doesn't really know for him to contest. In that case, the Nigerian citizenship is not general. That means there is something more powerful, indigenship. That you must be an indigene. Even if you were born in America, you don't even know Oyo, but the fact that your parents are from Oyo, you can just come back and become governor. So that's why I needed to bring this Mahmoud Mamdani postulation. He is of the view that the modern state ensures equal citizenship in political society. That is why, as a Nigerian, you can migrate to the US, and after some time, you have US citizenship, and you can contest to be a United States president if you have the means. That is not to say they don't have their own sentiment. They do. But nobody stops you. It is your right. You can contest. And that's why you go to the US Congress, you see somebody like Mark Rubio, the present Secretary of State of the United States. His parents are from Cuba, but I would say Marco Rubio is an American. In Nigeria, they will insist. You know, at some point, they were telling Atiku should go to Cameroon. If you look at the last polity, Atiku should go from that. His father is from Cameroon. Perhaps the father migrated from Cameroon. And remember, the president at Adamawa State. The president at Adamawa State used to be part of Cameroon. He used to be part of Cameroon. And Cameroon used to be a German colony. But when Germany lost the Second World War, it had no power to maintain its colonies anymore. The United Nations grabbed those colonies. So Cameroon was granted to France and Britain to govern as mandate territories. So the parts in northern Cameroon and southern Cameroon became part of Nigeria. That was why at some point NCNC was the National Council of Nigeria and Cameroon. So at independence, there was a plebiscite asking those Cameroonians that were now part of British Nigeria to choose where they want to permanently be. So when the election was organized around, okay, not election, the plebiscite, around Gongola. It used to be Gongola State. So those northern Cameroonians that form part of Adamawa today voted to be part of Nigeria. So that is why we have Adamawa State as part of Nigeria. So if Atiku's daddy was from Cameroon, Atiku had ceased being a Cameroonian after that the plebiscite. But some they were telling him go back to Cameroon. Why the southern part of Cameroon that was part of Nigeria voted to join the larger Cameroon. And that's why when you go to Cameroon today, you have the English-speaking Cameroon and the French-speaking Cameroon. The French-speaking Cameroon were those that were under French mandate, while the English-speaking Cameroon was under British mandate. But that English Cameroon, in a plebiscite, chose to join the French-speaking Cameroon. And today they are fighting for independence. They want an Ambazonia republic. So that is history. So that is why Mamdani said that the modern state ensures equal citizenship in political society. So the mayor of New York today, on a good day, is an Indian or a Ugandan. Because Mahmoud Mamdani, his parents moved to Uganda. So Mahmoud Mamdani, I think, was born in Uganda. So he has a Ugandan passport. See, when Idi Amina came to power in Uganda, Idi Amina brought that African sentiment to bear. Because Uganda at that time had a lot of Indians who were doing very well in Uganda. And they were Ugandans. They were Ugandan citizens. Africans don't like giving citizenship to others. But when they go to Europe, they want to claim citizenship. Idi Amin took over and began to attack those Indians. Many of them were born in Uganda. He drove many of them out. People like Mamdani ran to Tanzania. At the defeat of Idi Amin, some of them came back. But he had dislocated them. They were born in Uganda. They were Ugandans. But because Idi Amin did not recognize Uganda as a modern state, he brought the issue of black. We are blacks. We own Uganda. He didn't look at citizenship. And it's one of the bane of underdevelopment in Africa. If you go to London, you see many Yoruba persons that were born there. They are British citizens. Britain have accepted them as citizens. But you come here, a Yoruba man is telling an Igbo man in Lagos, go to your land. Go to your land. It's not your land. So Nigeria is not a modern state. It's a colonial state by that definition of Mahmoud Mamdani. You might want to add to this debate. So you can call the number 080-999-18449. 080-999-18449. You can call on WhatsApp to contribute to the discourse. And you see on this program, the callers, they keep deceiving itself. Okay, we have a caller here. Hello? Hello? Okay. It's trying to reconnect. So hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good evening, Mr. Edmund.
I greet you.
So my name is Prince. I'm calling from Lagos.
Yes, Prince, go ahead and make your comment.
Okay, so I've been listening to your take this evening. I think I must first commend your good work, which I think generations from now, or maybe 10, 20 years from now, are going to find very useful. At least as some form of historical encyclopedia of Nigerian history. But then I'd like to comment on what... Sorry, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, so I'd like to comment on the last few minutes, especially as regards the issue of citizenship. And I think I absolutely, on one hand, I agree with you that as Africans, we do not embrace citizenship the way the Western countries embrace it. But I'm also a proponent of Africans accepting our own realities. I do not think we always need to copy the West. I think when we look at Nigeria, for instance, the last 65-year period, we've continuously attempted to copy the West in everything we do. And I think the results are quite obvious. So as regards citizenship, I think we may need to accept our own realities to say perhaps it's not convenient for the Yoruba man from Lagos to accept someone from Anambra State coming to become governor, right? Maybe we just need to accept that these realities and work around them, as against having those rules in our constitution that says, oh, if you're born in Lagos, you can contest in Lagos. Meanwhile, the reality is, if I'm from Bayelsa State and I'm born in Lagos, or even my parents were born in Lagos and they gave birth to me in Lagos, it becomes a problem. I mean, it becomes almost impossible for me to even contest for a political position. Should be as against. Sorry, can you hear me? I lost you for a while.
Yes, I lost you for a while, but you are back.
Okay, so because when we talk about, we seem to want to always focus on what should be as against what is. So maybe when we begin to focus on what is, we focus on our own realities, and then we try to work around them. I don't think there's a point telling someone, oh, once you're Nigerian, you can grow up, you can do whatever you like in any part of Nigeria. Meanwhile, the realities are different.
Is reality a permanent thing?
Well, nothing is permanent in life. And we do say that change is the one permanent thing in life. But at the same time, for change to happen, it usually will take generations, and it just doesn't happen. It's going to take efforts, intentional efforts, and the reality is, the government of the day, or the elites of the day, as I would rather call them, do not seem to be interested in creating those structures that will bring those kind of reality to light. We just want to make the rules, and then we don't. For some reason, we refuse to back them up with actions, basically.
Because the reason I asked that question, the reason I asked that question, because at some point, even the United States didn't want to see blacks, but they changed that. They changed that reality. Martin Luther King and co forth. And eventually a black man became president.
Well, it's a good part of history to look at if we want to be optimistic. But then, for someone like me, I'm a young person, I'm in my late 20s.
Okay.
And I look at Nigerian history, I perhaps begin to ask myself, those part of history that you've just talked about, the Martin Luther King type of story, can it really happen in Nigeria? That's 65 already.
See, let me tell you a story. Do you know the Nigerian youth movement? There was a fight in the Nigerian youth movement about leadership. You know how beautiful that fight was? Awolowo was young, Azikiwe was young. They were all members of the Nigerian youth movement. Azikiwe was supporting a Yoruba man. Awolowo was supporting a man from the eastern region, NST Koli. How?
Because there was almost like a common, I don't want to use the term enemy, but there was almost like I don't want to use the term enemy, but there was almost like a common, let's just say common